I can't get this right today. Whatever's. I don't know. I was just on live stream and it's not working. I don't have boundaries and neither should you. It's an interesting topic for a live stream that dropped in whilst I was driving a good few hundred kilometers, about 600 Ks yesterday. 600 Ks? That doesn't sound right. 1, 2, it's probably that. Whatever. I did a lot of driving yesterday. I had a lot of think time and I was listening to a fucking awesome interview, actually. Who has heard of Mr. Beast? It was like the best friggin' interview that I've ever heard. And it was just brilliant. And it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes long or something. And I'm like, I got time to listen to this. Usually I listen to like mentor trainings or whatever on like 1.5 speed or 2 speed because I multitask and I can, depending on the person, because sometimes depending on the person's style of speaking, I actually need to listen to it on normal speed, but most of the time I can listen to it on double speed. But I was listening to this on normal speed just because I was called to and I was driving, and I had some amazing revelations when I was listening to it, and it was so freaking awesome. And this, I don't have boundaries and neither should you. The topic of this live stream, the really important message that I want to share today is it's boundaries and it's not boundaries. Let me just share this and I'll talk about it, because listening to that yesterday really activated something in me. It reminded me who I am. It really helped me. It was just like, this is who I am. And I think like I am so sensitive, right? I'm so fucking sensitive, and maybe this is a bad trait, whatever, and I can feel this is going to go a lot deeper than I intended it to today. So are you ready? We just came out of the Transcendence first welcome live stream, and so I'm like all activated and transcending energy coming through, but I'm like, wow, I just dropped into a lot deeper than I expected to talk about right now. So bear with me while I bring up the comments. So hello, welcome to my live stream. If this is the first time that you've been here, let me know. And so I don't have boundaries and neither should you. And this really sort of really came into like, yes, you need boundaries, okay? But what I'm talking about is outside of the norm, right? Outside of society conditioning of what we're supposed to do, okay? We're supposed to get 8 hours sleep. We're supposed to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We're supposed to have weekends off. We're supposed to have days off. We're supposed to learn this subject and this subject and this subject. No, even the unschooling philosophy is so in alignment with the entrepreneurship in the way a human is supposed to function, okay? Society has trained us to go to school from, every school's different, right? But roughly around 9 to 3. And you're going to do this subject for this amount of minutes, and then we're going to change classes, and we're going to move to this subject, and then we're going to move to this subject, and then we're going to move to this subject, and it cuts into us, and we're like all static and like sort of like rigid. Humans do not learn like this, okay? ADD, dysfunctioning children, like actually dialed into a higher dimension, okay? ADD, ADHD, attention dialed into a higher dimension. Like when Doreen Virtue coined that term years ago, I was like, boom, that's what it is. And so this is really important, like the immersion learning, and it's exactly why I have homeschooled my daughter, because the immersion learning is so in entrepreneurship land. And it's exactly how we function as sensitive, highly tapped in beings. And it should be so like, I want to say, it's so normal for us to be immersed in something. When you're like, you've got a child and they're sitting there in their toys and they're just immersed in it, right? And you're like, okay, we're going to go to the shop, get in the car. And there's like a big, screaming fit to get in the car because you're pulling them away from what they're doing. Now, from an aware parenting perspective, there's way more about the tears and tantrums that come when you're pulling them away from something. That's a whole conversation for another thing. And if you need help with your child and tears and tantrums, just comment tantrums below and I can send you a link to help support your children energetically with things that are going on. So when we are immersed in something, that is where we learn best, right? And just hearing Mr. Beast yesterday was like, I'm just like, that's what I do. Like, I get immersed in my work because it's not my work, it's my passion, it's my purpose, it's what I do. And, you know, like he was saying he'd like work for 8 days straight and, you know, and however many hours in the day because he's just immersed in it. And that wasn't his language, but I'm like, that's the immersion learning. Like, that is how we are supposed to learn. That is how humans thrive and how we learn best, right? And so this, like, I don't have boundaries and neither should you, is really coming into a place of like, trusting yourself and your intuition to really step into a place outside of the norm, right? Outside of the norm to really come into your own of where you're being guided to go. This is in essence of trusting your intuition full wholeheartedly. And if you work like, you know, so many of my clients are like, oh, you know, like need to get proper sleep or whatever, but I stay up until 3 a.m. and then I sleep till midday. And I'm like, if you can work with your own flow, that is the best. Like, you should be able, humans should be able to, right? Now, there's definitely purpose in boundaries, in routine, in discipline, 100%. If you want to get shit done, yes. But when you're intuitively calling and you're in the flow, and like, this is a super flow, this is where we deeply immerse ourselves, and it's like no time's passed at all. This is the immersion of your purpose, your passion. This is what we're here to live for. This is like the pure creative flow. Like, this is how I've built what I've built over these years and gotten to the level that I have. And everyone told me to stop, put my daughter in school, get a real job, don't do this. What, like, I've copped that. And hearing Mr. Beast talk about his experience with it was such a breath of fresh air. And I was just like, yes, like, this is what we do, you know, like, this is our creative, entrepreneur, passionate, like, highly intuitive, highly tapped in self, right? And this is why, you know, a lot of highly successful businesses, Apple, like, they're all high school dropouts, whatever, right? Because the system and the schooling system is designed to keep us at a certain level and not show us our potential, right? And the ones who are just like itching at their skin, like, get me out of here, you know, it's like, they're the ones that, you know, are the entrepreneurs that have that creative brain to listen to. Yeah, it's the best. Like, it was really awesome listening to that. I loved it. Transcendence was amazing. I know, right? So I've come on to share this message for you, right? In essence of like, I don't have boundaries and neither should you. Like, of course I've got fucking boundaries, okay? This is so important for your health, for your wellness. But when it comes to following your intuition, when it comes to trusting your creative flow and what you're creating, like, if you don't have dinner until midnight, trust that, okay? Because you're in this creation and it's just all flowing out of you. Like, can you just let go of like any outside societal, you know, conditioning that you need to have dinner and go to bed by a certain time? Like, I'm pretty sure that's like ingrained still from childhood, right? And whilst, as I said, like, there's real deep purpose and power in discipline, in motivation, in being able to get up and have a routine, but just, this is your permission slip to step outside the norm, to step outside of the boundaries and limitations of your own creative spurt. Because I want to say, like, boundaries, discipline, and routine is good, but if you're not thriving in that, it's time to break away from that. And it's time to break away from, you know, the discipline of like, got to get up at 5, got to do this and got to get that done. And if there's no spark there and no passion and no purpose for that, then try breaking all of those limitations. Try, like, let yourself drop into, especially if you have the freedom to be able to, right? Don't have an alarm, right? If you've got to get up and go to work and got kids to tend to and stuff, like, you of course you're going to tend to that, okay? But if you have the freedom to not have to get up and not have an alarm and start dropping back into your full, pure, intuitive, creative, super flow, connected to the synchronicities of life self, like, can you give yourself permission to do that? Right? For as long as it takes for that spark to come back. Because when you drop into that space, right, it'll feel like a nothingness, especially if you've sort of disassociated from that and like let yourself get stuck into a structure and like, and if it feels like that, can you just give yourself permission? This is your permission slip to like just deconnect. I want to say deconstruct that paradigm that you have to do it in a structured manner, right? And if the spark and your passion has disappeared from your eyes, from your life, and your heart's just like, what's the point? What's the purpose? Like, give yourself the space to just disconnect from the structure, reconnect to your heart synchronistic flow. Like, what do you want to do? Like, don't set an alarm. Let yourself naturally wake up. Okay, let yourself naturally come out of the dream state and take time to download those dreams, write those dreams. Let yourself give yourself permission to step back into the full flow of what you want to do next, not what you think you have to do. Okay, because that is soul food. That is what nourishes your soul, is following your intuition of what the next thing is to do, right? And when you've got space in your life to do that, you should be doing that. If you want to find your purpose, if you want to find your passion, if you want to understand what you're here for, that is the fastest way and the fastest element to be able to get back into that, and the spark comes back. And then you might step back into the structure and the discipline and routine, but the aliveness and the passion is there. You're back, right? And this is so, so important. So really strong message. Had to share it with you. There you go. So give yourself permission to disconnect from structure, routine, and discipline. If your soul light and your passion and your spark has gone out, okay? And give yourself reconnection and permission to connect back in with your heart, not what you think you should do. And you will find that flow you'll reconnect to the flow, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, here it is. And sometimes you'll be in the flow and you're like, well, this is good, but I'm still not clear. Like, okay, be okay with the unclearness, because that's going to find, and then all of a sudden it'll just be like, oh, here's the current, here's the open door, here's, oh my God, these ideas. And the thing is that if you don't give yourself permission to do that and trying to figure it out, you will never find that spark and passion. It will never come back again. So it's so important to reconnect back to your heart and trust yourself. Like, that's the soul food, right? You know, we always talk about eating, or, whatever addiction, because they will never fill the hole of what you're covering up, right? The only thing that fully will feel that and you'll feel content is following your soul and opening up to trusting your intuition enough to follow that again, if at all, for the very first time, right? So yes, just be, exactly, right? Give yourself permission in the I don't know space, in the just being, and eventually it will kick back in. You have to trust yourself enough to be in the okayness of not knowing for a while, right? Especially if you're reconnecting back to the flow and back to the space that you know is available to you, yeah? So last chance to get in for Transcendence. I just extended that for another 24 hours, so you can still jump in and join us. We had the first live stream today, so you can still jump in. The link is in the title of this comments, and I'll post it below as well. And you can find it in the title of my bio. If you can't find it, just send me a message, or you can find it on my website too. So comment below how you're reconnecting back to the flow, back to your heart, and trusting yourself. Transcendence is all about unplugging from that structured dark grid that just keeps us trapped and puts our light out, and reconnecting back to the true source code, back to your light, back to the truth of your purpose, your unique soul's passion and purpose, without having to check in with anyone else but your own soul, because you do know what to do. So Transcendence, we've just started. Click on the link to join us. It's open for another 24 hours. You can jump in, watch the live stream, and join us and begin. There's still time to even catch up with the pre-work before the actual work officially starts on Monday. So check the link in the title, and remember to trust yourself to jump back into your heart and let your heart guide you, because that's where the passion is. That is where the purpose is, and that spark will come back. It will, but you have to trust yourself enough to get into that synchronistic flow. Get out of the structure, get out of the routine, get out of, like, do something different, Reconnect back to the spark of life because you have it in you. And also, you're worth it. Yeah?